Get your cocktails. About the game script. A huge victory. We could have these streams and we put our heads together. Get your balls, put them on the table. We are live. We are indeed live. You have found the Pub Sports spot, the last call, 6 p.m. Eastern. We're on episode 4, show number 4, and I'm fired up. We had a nice little day yesterday. I'm going to start off the show with a recap, and I looked at the details here. 27 plays and leans to go over tonight. I hammered away on the plays. I'm going to try my best to get to some of these leans as well. We'll see how the card advances. You know, you guys have heard me say before, I'm a late better is great better type of situation. And it's been kind of a lot of fun to kind of evolve and adapt and try to make sure I get some of these spots in early. Some of the numbers and some of the splits will change as the night goes on. But to lock this down and try to give you guys the angles that I was looking at, very important that we got this information on the screen. So tonight, my guy joining us on the 1s and 2s, you know him. You don't mess with him. You don't go under the bridge. He don't go under the bridge if you follow him as well. It's my guy, Sharpie. Bets in the house, rolling those 1s and 2s for us. So we're going to get into it here, but certainly want to give everybody some time to file in. You guys know the situation. Couple of thoughts. First and foremost, make sure you like and retweet that promo piece I just sent out there that we're live, trying to spread the word. We've been doing a great job averaging 550 to 600 views on each of the shows that have already launched this week here. And we had a nice little day yesterday, so we'll jump in there. We'll give some opportunity for people to file in. You know, yesterday, I kicked myself in the ass because I start early and try to get these plays down, and then of course I locked in a couple of final adjustments there, some final adds to the card that didn't go the way I wanted. So I should have just stuck with my gut. I should have just rocked those things down right off the hop, but nonetheless, we had a 7-5 day. We ended up 2.5 units positive yesterday. So big deal there. We ended up going 2 for 2 on the leans, less leans than expected, but we still ended up almost a half unit up on the leans. So I want to preface that and make sure that we track those because I want you guys to see we're not just throwing the darts at the board. Some of them don't make the cut, and I try to give you guys the specific reason why they don't. But we've got this hour to fill in here to give you guys this opportunity to first and foremost, share your plays in the chat. I want to give Kelly V a big shout out. She attached several looks that she had last night to the YouTube video, and quite the day for our girl, Kelly. She had a pretty solid spot there. A couple spots that she indicated were her best bets that were winners, and I just want to give her a special thank you and shout out for getting it done. Rolling through the chat. Let's see who's dropping in here. We got Dana Delp. Sup, Money Mike. What's up, Dana Delp? Troy Torrance. Good to see you, my guy. Stopping by to show the love to the show. Much appreciated, my guy. I hope everything's going great with the new baby boy and that the wife is recovering and you guys are on the way to growing. We got Sharpie in here. The odds bunch says, let's have us a day. Leonard in Vegas. Let's go, Mike, of course. Director 97. The director is in the house for the first time on the Pimp Slap show. Let's go. Director 97, it means a ton. Fletcher Berry, boys, wine time. Jay Smoothie says, let's get going. Get in where you fit in with the last Megalodon living Mike with the money. I appreciate you, Fletcher Berry. Jay Smooth, let's get it. Mike M, coming with that heat. Wine time's in the house as well. What's up, Wine Time? And Dante Mack, a new member to the show and Pub Sports Radio. Super important, you guys. You know, it's $4.99 a month to become a member if you haven't already. That's a great way to show some love and support. You know, we're giving you guys tons of shows all day long, all evening long. We're doing live streams, and that stuff means a ton to us. You know, there's things that we look at and measure on the back end, and it's super important to get our members. We love donos as well. If you guys have hit big on the plays that we've shared out there, we certainly appreciate all that as well. And the likes and the retweets, right? That cost you absolutely nothing. Just a show of support to say, hey, appreciate you guys doing what you're doing. We're trying to grow this thing. We ain't going nowhere. We're just getting better. We got the NBA season is now underway. We are on day 3. We'll have some looks there. We're on a second week of the NHL. We got a ton of games to break down here. You'll see the screen. I shared with you guys before. My goal here this week was to get this plane in the air. Let's get this thing flying, and we will tweak the wings as we go. This is kind of that first iteration. I already can see some takeaways here, but I wanted to cover, especially in a bigger slate, situations where we've got leans, we've got looks, we've got all of that information already kind of part of the formula or the soup, but also want to give you guys the look at goaltending matchups when it comes to hockey and some of those splits. We might not cover these games in their entirety. We're not going to cover the entire card in a 1 hour slot, but there are some important and some significant takeaways, especially in hockey. You guys heard me say it the other day. Goaltenders in hockey are like starting pitchers in baseball. Critical to know what their records are, what their save percentages are, goals against average, any streaks and trends that they're on. So again, we'll fix this a little bit as we get going deeper here. You might have to full screen it to start this thing out, but without further ado, let me just run through yesterday's spots here. We started off, I gave you guys that Washington Wizards over 235. That was an easy casher. We had Miles Turner over 7.5 rebounds. He got there. I think it was 8 was his final. It made me sweat a little bit on that thing, but he got there. Charlotte against Atlanta. A little disappointed in that spot, and not happy to take that L, and it went kind of considerably under. It counts as one loss, just regardless of missing by maybe 15, 20 points, but it is what it is. That Toronto Raptor spot, super huge under there at 222.5. Bulls was an ad, kicked myself in the butt, and it was a little bit juicy. We took that L. We did crush that Pelican spot. I told you, don't give a guy like Zion motivation out there at that +1. We didn't need the points, but we got him anyways. Missed on that Clippers under 226.5. Smashed that Boston first half. What do we talk about, too? The New York Knicks find a way to kind of lie in the weeds and stay relevant, and it was at the very end, the very last 10 seconds of that game, that Boston was able to come back at that -4. Shout out to Nasty Nate. I know he had that trifecta Boston spot. The Lucky Clovers got the job done for him. We missed on the parlay out there. It was a +570 shot. We took a whack at a big score, and we still ended up plus units. That Jacksonville team total over. You guys, a bunch of you guys text me in that first quarter. They're 21 points. They made us sweat it out, 24 at halftime, but we got there in the end of the day. San Houston State, just a miss. I'll own that miss. I thought that team total spot the game spot with those teams and the way they've been totaling was the way to go. It was not. In fact, it just, it was one of those games at halftime where I was like, all right, this thing's going to go over. I don't even need to watch the second half of this game. And then we closed it out with that Washington Capitals spot, a +2 unit, almost 2.25 unit plus money spot. Tons of great live betting angles on there. Boy, they came out with a big 3-0 lead early. And then New Jersey came back. And who do we talk about? We talked about Jack Hughes. Hughes on a point tear, getting assists left and right. Ovechkin, I mentioned the game before, he finally found the net. And then once they kind of break that, spot open, they get it again. And Ovechkin pumped one in at the end of that game for that 2-unit winner. The other one that we talked about, and I thought we were going to get there. It was so close at the very end. That Miami Heat spot where I talked about the Pistons +9.5. And then I kind of mentioned, hey, they got probably a shot here to win this thing outright at was plus a 340 spot. They lost by what? I think it was 1 point final. It is what it is. It was a positive day. We're going to take that, and we are going to move on to start us off here. 16-17. We're still down a little less than a unit here, but again, a recovery day yesterday was much needed as we dive into the slate tonight. So we're going to get into that one. Sharpie, one back for me. Just a real quick kind of shout out here. As you look across the top of this screen, we'll get this less busy in the future. So that's on me. But I just wanted to show you guys this goaltending matchups and situations. We're not going to cover all these games. The first game that we'll jump into should be that Winnipeg Jets spot against the Detroit Red Wings. But worth noting, Anderson, the goaltender for the Hurricanes, looks like he's going to play tonight. He was kind of questionable in day-to-day, but he's been the kind of the heart and soul with those guys at a 2-0 spot to start the season. On the other side of things, they've got Dockard for the Kraken, and you can kind of see some of those splits. You're going to have to full screen this thing today. Again, that's on me. But let's roll into this first game that we cover here. NHL hockey. You guys know the layout with the screen here on the right-hand side. You're going to see exactly what we're covering in the order that we're covering it there, and that's kind of our placeholder or our agenda slide. And this game's going to kick off here. This Jets Detroit Red Wing spot. And you'll kind of see the numbers when it comes to the goaltending setup here. It's Hellebuck versus Reimer. Again, a couple of these guys are unconfirmed, but most of them are likely. The one big note I had, and we'll cover it, is in that St. Louis Blues game. But to kick things off, I saw 25% of the bets, 59% of the cash on the under in this game, Jets and Red Wings. 26% of the bets, 55% of the cash on the Jets money line. And a couple of trends to kind of point out here. First and foremost, Detroit's coming off a loss. They're a high-scoring team. They're 5-1-1 on the season to kick things off, but they're leading the NHL with just a shade under 5 goals a game. Big loss for them yesterday, or the other day, rather. But, one question I guess I have here is it a rebound spot? Now, we know about the NFL, and we know what happens when some of these teams are playing a game off of a situation like the San Francisco 49ers. Those trends ring through in all the sports. Specifically in hockey, I highlighted a couple spots that I'm going to jump into tonight. The first one is when you're a team that's on the road as a small road favorite defined as a team less than minus 200, right? Minus 200's just a little too juicy to try to make any money off of. But when teams are on the road coming off of a Montreal spot as a small road favorite, NHL wide, they're 77-29 straight up. The over hits 53-43 in terms of the over. Not a huge margin there. And kind of a cautionary with this game. The total itself, not where I wanted to get into. Detroit's a firing team, and the Jets kind of, they can get the puck on the net as well. The average total in that over spot with the 96-game sample is averaging 5.7. The other thing to look at, some guys will try to get cute with the team totals. These team totals are a difficult spot as well. The average, you've got a team total of 5.7 is the average in that 96-game sample, and the average scores are 3.4 to 2.4. So if you were thinking maybe the over on the Winnipeg side at 3.5, I'm going to try to throw the caution on there. Also, if you're looking at the 2.5, maybe on the Detroit Red Wings side and paying the juice, I'm giving you the caution flag on that one as well. 3.4 to 2.4 are those totals, but that's 77-29 league-wide measure. Over 100 games in the sample is currently on an 11-1 run. So in this case here, it's not an official play. It is a 7:00 start. I do like this Winnipeg Jets on the road, following that divisional spot there, or the trend coming off that Canadiens play on the road. It's a minus 125 spot. And this kind of feels like they want you to take this Detroit Red Wings position here. They're giving you this hot team in the NHL scoring 5 goals a game, coming off a loss, and they're making them a plus money home dog. I'm not buying it. In fact, like I said, I'm leaning to the Winnipeg Jets. For me, I just can't get there on the other side of this thing with Detroit. I don't want to take a team that kind of has they've overplayed their hand to start the season, in my opinion, with their goals and expectation. Larkin's a guy that gets the job done. We've been talking about him the last couple of games, but tonight, my first lean of the card is going to be those Winnipeg Jets, Sharpie. We're going to roll on down the line. We talked a little bit about this one yesterday, and, here's a spot that I had to take advantage of. It's this Avalanche Penguins game. Georgiev versus Jerry for the Pittsburgh Penguins. 6-0, Georgiev there, and that Colorado Avalanche team is flying high right now. 15% of the bets, 65% of the money have taken that Pittsburgh Penguins plus 1.5 spot, but Avalanche, 80% of the bets, 83% of the money. Big money coming in on that Avalanche team. They kind of got that. They kind of got over the hump, right? They came to the East Coast against the Islanders the other day. They slapped them in the mouth with their pimp hands, and I don't expect that to change. They're just running hot. They're feeling great. It's their first road trip of the season. These guys practice all summer long. They get excited about games that are going. They come off to a hot start, and then they get their first big road trip here on the East Coast. And I think that just gels. There's a chemistry that goes into this equation as well. At the end of the day, there's only 3 teams in the NHL that are left with 3 losses. With no losses, rather. Colorado Avalanche being one of them. Georgiev's hitting a 1.98 goals against average with a 93% save percentage. And, Pittsburgh's lost their last 3 straight, getting outscored significantly. Jerry's on a terrible start here. He's in an 83% save percentage his last 2 games. The Penguins have been outscored 14-6 their last 3 games. I took the Avalanche at minus 140. Could not get there whatsoever on the Penguins. I talked about 2 teams that are running just kind of the oldest lineups out there in the NHL. I like Crosby. I like what he's done for the game. I'm a Malkin guy too when it comes to Pittsburgh, but Colorado Avalanche just fulfilling early expectations. That Western Conference should be a battle. These points on the road in these cross rivalries when you cross conference are super important. had to jump in on that Colorado Avalanche spot. I could not get there on the other side. And I'm going to lock that. That's my first official play of the card, is the Colorado Avalanche. Moving right down the line, lots of games to cover. We're going to keep a rapid pace. You guys know we have to move this thing quickly. I do want to shout out this chat, though. Justin says Syracuse +3. Sean Sullivan says, let's go. And Director 97, our guy, I agree with Pimp Slap on this bet. Avalanche, money line, just feels like a right spot here. Bo Jackson says first period, money line, Penguins. Interesting spot for the home team. That's a dog in the spot here. We've seen those come through quite a bit. Coin says Winnipeg first period, puck line +180 is really juicy. Kind of goes along with what I was thinking. Bo Jackson says Pens money line and first quarter money line. I think he means first period. And there's our guy Smoke. Virginia Tech smashes. Let's go Hokies. Man, you got to sleep with one eye open, baby. That's the best intro on a weeknight spot in college football. I get fired up. I listened to that song about a dozen times today. I listened to it so much, I was firing away on that Virginia Tech spot, and I was like, whoa. I just fired myself up so much, I got to take a step back. But let's get back to the NHL. We got the San Jose Sharks playing the Tampa Bay Lightning. It's a Blackwood versus Johansson matchup. Blackwood, terrible start to the season, 0-3-1. Johansson on the other side, 3-1-2. They measure these overtime spots because they give the NHL guys a point for those things. So those two overtime losses are super important in terms of momentum. The under is 62% of the bets, 82% of the money. Focusing in on that under, 70% of the bets, 82% of the cash on the Tampa Bay Lightning side of things. But check this out. San Jose unders are a thing. They're 6-20 to the under if they're on their first game of a back-to-back with at least 1 day of rest coming into the spot here. 6-20 to the under. It's a reeling San Jose Sharks team right now. I'm not going to jump in there and lay the juice with Tampa Bay. But when I look at Blackwood, as much as he's kind of been on the struggle bus to get things going, he still is hitting a 91.4% save percentage. Off to a good start. On the other side of things is Johansson. Johansson's got a 32 save play in his last game, and he's averaging a 91.7 season-long save percentage. San Jose, the worst team in the NHL scoring goals. Their average is 1.33 goals a game. Second official play for me on this card is taking that under. I'm following that San Jose unders trend, their first game of a back-to-back. Just think about it holistically. You got a team that's getting ready for, some intense battle the next 2 days, and they're not scoring to begin with. So it's almost like either they don't want to expend themselves too much, and you're playing a team like Tampa Bay that's been Eastern Conference perennials the last maybe 6-7 years, even going further back to the Ryan Callahan days with Tampa Bay Lightning and winning those championships. Are you going to expend all that energy today? Do you want to go out there knowing you've got a game again tomorrow? And I think the answer in this case is no. The San Jose Sharks under 6.5. I got that at -105. To me, that was the spot that I had to lock down in this game. I don't want to play a ton of unders in the NHL, especially in these 7:00 windows, but you got a team with travel playing that back-to-back position. And you have goaltenders, despite the 0-3-1 for Blackwood. It's not his fault the team can't score. The guy, unless he's shooting a puck at the empty net, goaltenders aren't scoring goals. But he is getting out there and he is finding a way to keep them competitive with his 91.4% save percentage. I'm taking the shot on that under, and it's low juiced opportunity for me. I like that quite a bit. DC Capper says, Mike M, is Tampa Bay +9.5 too many points? We're going to get to the NHL or the NFL, my guy. We got the whole slate laid out here tonight. We're going to start with hockey because they do have the earlier start times. We've got the NBA. I know a lot of you guys want to get into the association. We had a strong day yesterday. I've got a couple of really good looks that I'm excited about there. We'll roll into the NFL and college football to close the card out for us here. But we're going to keep things rolling. We're going to go to my next spot is going to be this Islanders and Ottawa Senators matchup. We have Korpisalo at 1-2 goaltender for the Senators, and Sorokin at 2-1-1 for the Islanders. 71% of the bets, 74% of the money on that over, 41% of the bets, and 70% of the cash on the Islanders. The Islanders, interesting spot for the Islanders. This is a specific trend for the Islanders. When they're off a loss coming back against a West Conference team, a Western Conference team, they are in a bounce back spot. When they go west to east, and they just played that Colorado Avalanche, and they fought hard and they lost that game, but it was a fight hard spot for them. They didn't just roll over. They're 12-3 covering by 1.3 pucks. So, if you wanted to take that Isles -1 to knock some juice down on it, I guess you could look at that, but I got that number at minus 117, and it was starting to fall. It was 118 as I started putting the slide together, and it dropped to minus 117. What I don't like about Ottawa's situation, they still don't have a clear-cut number one goaltender. They're off at 2 losses in a row, and they've been outscored 11-6 in those 2 losses. I can't get there with a team like Ottawa that's making this road trip. You've got the Islanders in what they've shown historically over a 15-game sample as a strong bounce-back spot and low juice. Minus 117 is a fair number. I'm just going to pop this thing over real quick as I pull it up and kind of just line shop with you guys just to kind of take a last-minute peek here to see. Yeah, I'm still seeing minus 117s. And in fact, now there is more money coming in on that Islanders. The split percentage has moved from 57% bets to 79% cash. The bigger bets like that Islanders number. Islanders are at home, back-to-back home stand for them after that tough loss that they just faced. And I think they'll get the job done for us. So it's actually a lean for me. It's not an official play that I locked in yet. Sorry if I misspoke there, but the Islanders minus 117. I like this bounce back opportunity for them. I'm not entirely sold. I like Brady Tkachuk and what he's doing out there with Ottawa. I think he's a guy that's very dangerous to get points on the board. But I guess it's a lean for me in this game. An official lean is that Islanders minus 117. JW says, this is my kind of night. Got it. We got 4 big sports in the house. Sancho. Can't wait for that NFL live show later. I can't wait either, man. It's a lot of things going on, a lot of moving parts. That one dude says the best in the biz. What's up, Mike? Appreciate you, my guy. Thanks for the love and the kind words. Sports galore tonight, Sean Sullivan. You know it. Primetime 99 in the house is on the Bruins minus 1.5. I've seen a lot of guys and guys talk about that number. And for me, I didn't play that game. That's not kind of one of my focuses, but Director 97 says he put together a money line 4-spot parlay. He likes the Red Wings, the Bruins, Tampa Bay Lightning, and the New York Rangers. That's a nice looking card. I'm going to write that down and take a note of that as well, but we'll move on to the next game. Sharpie, I think we missed one. We got to go back 2. Minnesota, Philadelphia.
Minnesota.
No mini.
I don't have that up there, bro.
All right. Well, St. Louis, Calgary. I'll jump out of rotation here, and I'll talk about that one really quick because there is an official play, and I have a lean in this game. So, Minnesota Wild versus the Philadelphia Flyers. You've got Gustavin in net for the Minnesota Wild, and then you've got Carter Hart over there on the other side. Gustafsson is 2-1-1. Gustafsson, I think is what I was trying to say, is 2-1-1 for Minnesota. Carter Hart's 3-2, 14% of the bets, 88% of the cash on the Wild on the puck line minus 1.5, 23% of the bets, 33% of the money on the under, 83% of the bets, however, 86% of the cash on that Flyers money line. Here's where I've talked about it before, and I just don't think you're going to take a lot of sharp action that's going to drop in on a home. They're going to not fade a home dog. They like that plus money spot. But for me, 2 looks that I have in this game. One's a look and one's an official spot. We talked a little bit about games after spots, right? Games after spots that I talked about with the Canadians. How about after Vegas? When Vegas first started the NHL, the Vegas flu was a real deal. Teams that played Vegas, that following game, they just blew it. They just could not win the game. And they called it the Vegas flu because they said these guys are in Vegas in a regular season spot, not a vacation spot. And they usually have a day off in between there. And they're going to play a team like the Coyotes. You don't have to get a lot of energy expended to play those Coyotes, but what you do is you go out in Vegas and you play the tables a little bit later. Who knows? They maybe leave the next morning. But when teams are coming off a game that they just played against Vegas, the over has been hitting at an alarming rate. It's 32-7-1 in a 40-game sample after teams have played Vegas to the over. Now, they're just 20-20 straight up, so it's a coin flip. But that overrun is on a 7-1 spot in its last 8. Also, another thing to look at here, teams after they've gotten more than 27 shots on goal that are now a home dog are 16-3 to the over. But here's where some variance starts to pop into play. 27 or more shots on goal. Flyers, they played hard that game. They lost. It was an 11 p.m. late night start if you're East Coast and you have the East Coast body clock, which the Flyers do. In this case here, after a ton of shots on goal, expending all that energy, they're 3-16 straight up the next game. Think about that too. They were leading that game. They ended up losing outright in regulation. They just gassed out. It had to be like 1:30 in the morning before they were finally getting into that third period. And Vegas took advantage of that home ice and the late start. In this case here, I think this team gasses out there in a travel spot. Even though the Matt Boldy factor for Minnesota is real, He's not there. He's injured. They're still scoring at an alarming clip. They're scoring at 4.17 goals per game, which is going to be in the top 5 in the NHL. I locked in Minnesota as an official play for me at -120. Not going to take hard for me to fade these Flyers. I know that they started out the season doing well, but in this case, I don't expect that they're playing again beyond their expectations early. And I lean to the over. The Minnesota over is 5.5 in some books. And I thought, again, given that Vegas post-game factor, that 7-1 run, teams after they shoot a ton of shots on goal that are home dogs, I like to lean on that over 5.5 as well. All right, we're in this next spot on the card here is the St. Louis Blues, Calgary Flames. And this is one of those spots where we did have a last-minute change. So you'll see on the top that it's Bennington. And this is what the last call is all about, giving you guys the latest information that's available to us. Markstrom is confirmed on the Flames side of things, but Joel Hofer, I'm not even sure, is going to be the guy that goes in replacement of Bennington. What they did is they brought this guy in to battle with Bennington to start the season, but they were trying to maybe kind of transition away from the Bennington spot. And what they've done now is Bennington's played so strong and so aggressively that they had to take him, and they couldn't pull him out of there. He's got a 1.69 goals against average for those St. Louis Blues. Markstrom on the other side, sub 90% on his season at this point. St. Louis Blues, they're not scoring, they're not shooting a ton of goals. They're last in the league at 23 shots on goal. And they've got a two goals against average, but you got a goaltender in Markstrom who's very vulnerable at a sub. He's 88% save percentage on the season. And you got this Hofer coming in there. You got 24% of the bets and 52% of the cash on the over. 25% of the bets, 45% of the money on the St. Louis Blues. Here's another situation to take note of, and I'll keep highlighting these as we go through the season. The St. Louis Blues, when they're on the first game of back-to-back road trip, right? So they got a back-to-back spot. They're on the road. The over has hit 8-1, 8-1-1 on overs. Only one overtime in that sample. So I like this over quite a bit. I locked in the St. Louis Blues over 6. That goaltending battle with that last-minute move to the relegated backup now versus a Markstrom that's really not performing the way he should. The Calgary Flames, the last game, got me with that Ranger spot on the over, but I'm going to run it back here. I got the St. Louis Blues over 6. I like that first period over 1.5 as well. Shout out to Mr. Gokster on the morning show with Jimmy the Bag. One of the things he talked about is the first period overs hit, I think it's 7 times in a row in Calgary. Something I had to look at. It's -130, so it's a little more juice than I'd want to lay out there, but I officially locked in the Blues over 6 with the lean on that first period over. And I might look to live bet this as well. If that first period over doesn't hit for whatever reason, I'm definitely jumping in and whacking away on that full game over. Probably get it at 5.5 or even a 5, depending on what that first period score looks like. But I think this game here, what we see, if you kind of put the storyline together with the St. Louis Blues starting a road trip, they come out hot, they score goals, they play aggressive. They maybe pinch a little more than they should. That creates odd man rushes on the flip side of the equation. And the Flames are a dangerous team. They're kind of underperforming to start the season off, but very much a dangerous team. I think St. Louis Blues are very vulnerable tonight. And give me that over 6 goals. We'll keep it rolling. Next game on the card is our final game in the NHL. We've already gone through 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and this is our 7th look on the NHL card tonight. We're timing it right on here. We're about halfway through the show, and we've got still some unconfirmed. They're likely, but they're unconfirmed. So pay attention to that factor. It's not going to change the deal for me, but if you are one of those guys or gals that gets really focused in on the goaltending change up here, it's supposed to be Shesterkin versus Skinner. And Shesterkin's 3-2 on the season. Skinner's 0-1-1. 85% of the bets, 87% of the cash. Expecting goals, they like the over. 64% of the bets, 95% of the cash on the New York Rangers. Makes a ton of sense. There is no Connor McDavid. He's not expected back for maybe another 1.5 to 2 weeks. And Edmonton's been reeling in those spots. They are not getting the job done. They're finding difficulty getting the puck in the net. And here's a situation going back to 2018 when Edmonton's a home dog. Doesn't happen often, right? They're odds-on favorites in a lot of cases to win their division, make a push for the Stanley Cup. They're one of those teams you expect between Draisaitl and McDavid and all the horses that they've got running up and down that lineup to get to the playoffs. But when they do get marked as a home dog, does Vegas know something? Probably. They're 6-16 straight up going back to 2018. So think about that. It's only happened 22 times that Edmonton Oilers are a home dog and they're not winning those games. So appropriately priced at -130 for the New York Rangers. Also, this is another spot that I talked about a few minutes ago with the Flyer spot here. When teams have come off a game that shot 27 or more times on goal and are a home dog, they are 16-3 to the over, but 3-16 straight up. So I'm using that trend in kind of two different positions, right? And for the Flyers game, I like that trend to go to the over with that Vegas flu factor. Also in this game with Edmonton, I like to play the side of this things here with that New York Rangers. One last lean I'm going to give you guys on this NHL card tonight. I'm going to go to Mika Zibanejad as a goal scorer, anytime goal scorer at +200. You might look at his stats this season and kind of see him lying in the weeds. He's got no goals. He has been out there generating assists and putting points on the board, but his expectation for goals is marked between 25 and 30 goals this season. Right now, he's got 0. Edmonton, why do I like this spot? They're 31 worst defense in the NHL. They're just not playing. They're not stopping the game whatsoever. And then if you look at Max, if you look at Mika's spots here, he's 3rd on the team in expected goals and 3rd on the team in scoring chances. He's a havoc player. He gets down there, he mixes it up, and it's a lean for me because it's a late night special. I haven't gotten there just yet, but at 2-1 the money for Mika, granted the 0 goals is probably driving that number up. As soon as he pops one in, that number is going to drop to +150, and the more goals that he puts on the net, the less that value is going to be there. So is it a little bit of a long shot here to get there? Maybe, but at +200 money, 2-1 my money, I had to take a shot with that thing. That was absolutely where I wanted to go. Rangers are official. Mika's might lean in this game, and that's going to bring us through the NHL card. So we're 7 deep. We're going to roll and transition into the NBA. And I want to just kind of highlight last night's results. That was the first big card of the NBA season. So some of you guys are, trend faders, or you might look to say, okay, it's a zigzag theory. One night it happened this way, the next night it happens the other way. Underdogs on the money line last night. It was a favorites night. The underdogs went 3-9 on the money line, but favorites went 6-5-1 against the spread. So the points were the factors last night. The overs were an even split at 6-6. So they didn't show a lot of tells there. The first night I talked about the NBA, and I said that some of those shots I expect to drop later in the season. That didn't get there. Yesterday, the games that I expected to go over for the most part went over, minus that Atlanta game, and the games that I thought would go under went under. So with the exception of that Clippers game. So yeah, I guess we kind of split the overs. It makes sense at a 6-6 result, but the biggest upset, I always kind of like to talk about these two because there was some value in that card. Even though the Dogs only won 3 of them, the biggest upset was the Hornets at that Hawk spot. They won the game 116-110 at a +150 home dog position. Worth noting, something that maybe we'll take advantage of and try to look at those numbers later. I'm gonna categorize those. I'm gonna lock them away and then kind of look those numbers throughout the season and see if we can't analyze some trends within the trends in those spots. So the first game I want to talk about, big one on the card. We're going to jump right in. It's the Sixers versus the Bucks, and it's going to be a barn burner here. 2 teams that should go deep in the Eastern Conference this year in the association, and you've got 32% of the bets, 40% of the cash on that Sixers +5.5. The line's actually moving up now. We see 6s and even 6.5s out there now. So kind of an interesting tell that although some of the bigger money's coming in on the Sixers, the public likes that home favorite with the Bucks, and Vegas is reacting accordingly. They're not so concerned about the bigger bets. 33% of the bets, 74% of the cash on the under, and a measly 7% of the bets and 20% of the cash on the 76ers. A couple things to talk about. First of all, if you guys were looking at any of the beat reports or watching any social media, James Harden, they got some issues out here. They want to do the right thing by James Harden. He was kind of a guy that was talking about getting traded. He was talking about getting traded every single season. This guy's not happy where he's at. But, what he did is they had a conversation. They had to sit down with him, and they said, look, we want you to come to our training facility in Camden. We want to ramp you up and get you ready for the season. We don't just want to throw you to the wolves and have you get ready to go. Apparently, the walk away from that conversation was, okay. Well, then he still shows up to the airport, and it was the Sixers security that had to refuse him access to get on the plane. They sent him back home. So even though he talked to the coaches, they were all in consensus with what the game plan was. James Harden still wanted to be there for his team. I feel like that's going to be a big distraction here. We've got, a big deal with Damian Lillard, his first game for Dame time in Milwaukee. And you've got Giannis coming off the extension. So, yeah, no shit, Giannis gets an extension, right? He's got his Dame guy in there now. They've got a big 1-2 punch. They already had an aggressive and competitive team, and now you bring in one of the best point guards in the league. Doesn't make a lot of sense that he's not going to sign a 2-year, $60 million extension. Good on him. But, as I kind of thought about game script for this game as well, two things I was looking at. One, I think, with that game time and Giannis coming in here, this team with their expectations, it's their first home game. I locked down the Bucks first half -3. That's an official play for me. I just think they start out strong. I think there's a lot of variable going on with Philadelphia right now. I expect Philly to be competitive over the long haul, but the Bucks are just workhorses. It's got to be a difficult travel spot to get to that facility as well. So I like that Bucks first half a lot. That's an official play for me. Another official play here you'll see is going to be a prop spot. It's my first NBA prop spot. I got a couple more in the next game as well. But I got the Lopez over 1.5 threes, and I got it at +155. A couple of thoughts on this one. First of all, I saw that number was at +185 in some spots. So it has taken some considerable steam on it because I think the word is out. Philly is allowing 41.3% from beyond the arc. Their 3-point approach is saying, hey, we're going to let you shoot threes and then we'll try to board up and play aggressively and try to get those rebounds. But in Brook Lopez's last 8 games versus the Philadelphia 76ers, he's shot on average just under three 3-pointers a game. He's got 63 attempts in that 8-game stretch out there with him. And in fact, in 6 of his last 8 games, he's got 2 or more attempts at the 3 spot. I think he gets there, and I like that plus money spot. So a lot of focus is going to be on Lillard and what he can do. I made it a lean for me. I think Dame's going to come in here, and he's going to want to ball out. He's an alpha. He wants to show his position. He's excited to establish himself for the new team. It's got to be a weight off his back coming away from that Portland spot where he was the only guy. We've seen him put up 40s and 50s. But in this case here at 26.5, why do I think this way? Because I think Giannis is a true leader too. I don't think Giannis, because of the Marquise situation that he's got in the Bucks team and what the NBA has done to make him a star and a showcase player, he's an all-star, he's a champion, and he's bringing on one of his boys that they've talked about for the last couple of years as a guy that he wants in the organization. Now you're getting an opportunity to showcase and help him step up and secure his place, make him happy. How do you make him happy? You feed him, you let him eat. I got that Lillard as a lean at 26.5 points for me. It's a -115 spot. I might do a little same game parlay depending on how things kind of transition as we move closer to the game. But I did want to kind of point that out because I know it's a coin flip depending on who you ask about what his expectations are. I don't think he's the guy that's just going to kind of come in there low key and try to fit in before he balls out. I think he's a baller and he wants to get done early. And I think they want to send a message to Philadelphia and the NBA and put them all on notice. And that kind of correlates with why I like that first half spot. We'll roll on to the next spot here. The second game, marquee evening for the association, the Suns versus the Lakers. 44% of the bets, 53% of the cash on the Suns at +5.5. 75% of the bets, 90% of the money on that under, and 72% of the bets, 85% of the cash saying the Suns are going to win this game outright on the money line. Some last minute movement. We had some injury notices here, right? First of all, no Booker. Second off, no Bradley Beal. I guess he's playing load management early. I mean, he's got a couple games of rest under his spot here and under his belt. And kind of the storyline in that last game, I know our guy Billy Briz came on and talked about this on Tuesday, that the Lakers, they don't win that first game of the season. Now, this is their home opener, so it's a big deal for LA tonight to have this opportunity. And kind of 2 players that I'm focused in on. I've actually got 3 leans and 1 official play for this game here. The first spot I looked at here is what happened to Anthony Davis. They put out a whole series of milk cartons with the MIA players on the back of it, and it was Anthony Davis. He disappeared entirely in the second half of that game. I heard some guys giving him a discount saying, oh, it's the altitude and it's the first game of the season. But are you kidding me? It's the first game of the season. You can't be ready. Your cardio's not right. You didn't expect to be playing at altitude. The game's been on the schedule for the last 4 months. What are you doing? And where did he go? I think coming back home here, we saw that LeBron James, he fell short of his expectation. I gave that prop out for his 23.5. It ended at 21, I believe was the number for LBJ. And I think in this case here that a healthy Anthony Davis, despite what happened last game, he knows what the story is going out there. He's back home. He loves the LA limelight. And I think his lean is a great spot here for the over 22.5 points. I got that at -125. Just a simple spot where you've got an all-star player coming back home, opening the season at home. and kind of wants to kind of make amends for that last letdown. And, you could argue that, LBJ didn't get the job done, but Anthony Davis' lack of points is why they lost that game. It was a somewhat tight battle, tightly contested battle going into the fourth quarter, and AD just kind of let everybody down. So I think it's a good rebound spot for AD, but the spot that I'm locking in official is Okogie here. I got his over 9.5 points, and it's plus 106 money line for me. You guys know I try to look for those plus money spots on the money line. And I think this is a great opportunity for it. Why? Well, with no Beal and no Booker, this guy's got to get a ton of minutes. Last game, with no Beal, what did he do with the Golden State Warriors? He played 31 minutes. He put up 17 points. When this guy goes over 30 minutes of playing time, he's 15-2 on the point line at over 9.5. Again, no Beal, no Booker. He's already seen that with no Beal, he's a guy that's going to go out there and play. His last season, he had 6 games without Booker. He was averaging 25.5 minutes a game, and he was putting up 12 points. Interesting note, last year he had 1 game against the Lakers. He put up 16 points in that game. So I'm official with the over 9.5 points at plus 106. That's available on FanDuel. But I want to kind of draw your attention. It's a lean for me at this point because it's a later game. It's another spot that I might try to parlay it together with Jabinadad. The ladder here, his 15 or more points on FanDuel is plus 550. I just talked to you guys about his average here, his numbers when he's out there without Booker. Now you add no Beal factor. No Beal last game, he puts up 17 points. 15 or more points at plus 550 coming off a game where he put up 17, showing he's capable of getting the job done. He's feeling it. He's got that opportunity to step up, and the Suns need him to step up. So I like that ladder spot at 15 or more at plus 550. And, this number for the Suns to me, is it a bounce back spot for the Lakers? They were minus 120, the Beal news, the Booker news. I was kind of thinking about the Lakers winning this first game at home. But ultimately what I did when I saw that number skyrocket the other way, as I started breaking down this last game, the Suns had a ton of turnovers, right? They had 19% turnovers. They were only 50% with mid-range shots, so they weren't really playing their best ball, and they were able to get the job done from Golden State, only because Golden State was less than 24% from the three. So, Booker and Nurkic carried those guys. They were able to get the job done. The Lakers, they want to play a slow down pace. Since last year's trade deadline, they went from 6th in pace to 10th in pace, so they are starting to slow down. They've gone to a lower 3-point rate since the trade deadline as well. I know the trade deadline to now, but there's a lot of the same nucleus in place. The Lakers are 25th in the NBA taking 3-pointers. The Suns also in a 22 spot in the NBA last year. But here's the thing. Dogs versus a team that they lost back-to-back that previous game, and this goes back to playoffs, right? The LA Lakers lost last season, 21-6 to the over, and it's going over by almost 9 points. The Suns' game plan from the get-go was we want more 3-pointers. I talked to you guys about that last game as kind of their strategy. Their coach had said it preseason. We want to take more threes. Well, I just talked about how sloppy their performance was. I just talked about the injury factors here. That game went way under just because of slot ball and kind of that opening night. Maybe it was jitters, maybe it was rust. Who knows? But I guess I'm kind of tipping my hat and saying I wouldn't be mad at anybody that wanted to look back at the under in this game. And if you're thinking about the Lakers going back to 2021, so the last 3 seasons now, their first 5 games of the season, they're 2-9 overall, straight up. They're 1-10 against the spread, losing by almost 6 points. So that led me with that last minute news. I was not a big fan last year of the NBA and their trickery, if you will, when it came to their injury management process here. I think a lot of sharp cappers that I respect in the NBA, they got way too fixated on, is this guy going to play or not? Look at this here. We kind of expected with the number that Vegas put out there when it was a 5 or a 5.5, that 1 or 2 of these guys weren't going to play anyways. So now what happens is they move a 1 point because both of them are out of the game. It was already baked in. Now it's official, so they moved it a point, but you're not going to see a 5 or 6 point radical swing. Vegas knows what's up. They got the lowdown. They got the beat on the street. I think we need to start to kind of minimize some of those injury reports, barring kind of who the players are and what the matchups look like. And that got me back to the lean. It took me off the Lakers money line. It put me on the lean with the Sun side. And I think I like it now even more with the extra point, in the back pocket. But for now, it's just an official lean of the play. So that's going to bring us to a conclusion in the 2 NBA games. You guys, if you haven't done so already, my little message here, make sure you please like this YouTube video. We definitely need to get in there to spike the algorithm and let them know this new show is here to stay. Need your help to get that word out there. EQ says last call. AOD, Mike, who are we pimp slapping tonight? We got a whole bunch of cards, whole bunch of plays, and then we've got the live stream that starts at 7:30 as well. So Nanya says Bills first half -6.5, Virginia Tech money line, and Georgia State money line at plus 530 is dropping a bill on that thing. And I like those numbers, Sky. That's a good looking spot. AOD says Kevin Durant over 36.5 rebounds and points. Justin B, why do you like the Ducks? He must be talking about somebody in the chat, because I just had to think back at it and say, I don't like the Ducks. I know a lot of people do. They're kind of one of those teams that's always a dog, and you got to figure if you just play the dogs enough that you're going to, find at least a 50-50 shot and be up money. Now, are they going to be one of the worst teams in the NHL? The bookmakers think so. They think the Flyers, they think San Jose, and they think the Ducks are all some of those bottom rung teams in the NHL. But, they should finish the season with at least 30 wins, and that 30 wins should give them at least an even money, if not plus money spot on the overall season. AOD says LeBron over 33 points, rebounds, and assists, the PRA spot out there for our guy AOD. He likes, I'm going up from down, so I'm probably out of sequence here. AOD says Lillard, 18.5 points, special on prize picks with Middleton over 12. There's a little prize picks look. I know our guy backstage is all about those guys here. Gagnon says AD knew the script. Nuggets were supposed to win the opener. Doesn't surprise me. And then here's Pub Sports Radio. Anthony Davis is who he is. A few good games and a few bombs in between. I don't disagree. We had a song made up, my buddies and I, about the AD and LBJ when those games got going. We got really excited about popping their unders. But Joey Harb says, any overs in college football? What a great segue. Let's jump in here. Let's talk a little bit about this here. We've got about 15 minutes till the 7 o'clock window pops here. I gave you guys a couple looks already between hockey and the NBA. Let's talk about this Syracuse Virginia Tech game. I already talked about it, man. Enter Sandman is one of the best damn intros. Even if you don't watch the game, make sure you watch the few minutes leading up to it, because that will get you jacked up. I mean, if you're not a team at home, when you hear that thing going on there, the bells get ringing, the fans are going fucking bananas. You got to dial into that thing here. 35% of the bets, however, and 50% of the cash are on Syracuse +3. 34% of the bets, 44% of the money on that over, expecting potential opportunity for points. 80% of the bets, 86% of the money have said, I'm just going to take the Syracuse money line. Let me tell you why that's not a good idea. I'm a guy that sits here in the region of Syracuse, and they stink. That's just the easiest way I can say it. One factor here, I try to paint the narrative on both sides of things. Road teams undervalued in larger conference spots here. So larger conference being, at least a Power 5, not some of those kind of mid-major schools. But road teams are finding a way to get those victories. This is a largely Saturday-driven stat, but still relevant for tonight because we have a road team with Syracuse. 346, 253, and 4 going all the way back to 2005, showing that there is a slight edge on that road team side of things. But why do I say Syracuse stinks? Get the pens and paper out, because here we go. Syracuse, when they're on a 3-game losing streak at the time, they are 0-9. Losses just start building up. They started off that team. They beat some low-level FCS and Division II schools up here in the region, and they padded their stats early. But when they lose, they can't seem to get out of their own way. They're 0-9 against the spread, going back to 21 off a loss. 0-9 against the spread over the last 2 seasons, off a loss. And when they're losing by almost 13 points, 12.72. Another stat here to talk about how bad Syracuse is. When they have a game that they throw less than 200 yards, they're 0-9-1 against the spread that following game, and they're losing by almost 15. They're losing by 14.95 points. The ACC home favorites during the weekday, however, to paint the other side of this thing, have only gone 16-24. So that kind of dovetails against my road teams being undervalued in big conferences. At the end of the day, for me, I saw conference home favorites that have a nice little win streak going on. As long as that line's greater than 3 or equal to 3, have a nice under trend going on as well at 5-13 to the under by almost 8 points. This is where I got excited when I was listening to this little Enter Sandman earlier today as I was capping this card. And I like the Virginia Tech first quarter. It's a lean for me. It's a 0.5 point lean at +115. I talked to you guys the other day about my struggles and trials and tribulations when it comes to trying to split games down in first quarters and first halves. But at plus money, Virginia Tech to come out fired up, rallied, and we see that Syracuse has been struggling to find their footing and not being able to complete balls through the air on a losing streak. I thought that was a really good spot, at least for a lean. Now, I did go official with Virginia Tech. I had to. I know what's going on with Syracuse. I see them detailedly. I see that there's been changes in the offense with Virginia Tech, and it's a -140 spot, so it's a little juicier than I'd like to play. But I made that pre-show. It was a lean for me. I see we have some flip-flop here. I made the Virginia Tech first quarter a lean, and then I flip-flop Virginia Tech full game money line to be an official play for me. So I'm going to update the records accordingly behind the scenes. I want you guys to know where I'm sitting with this thing here. I think Virginia Tech gets this job done. I like him to come out early, but I had to kind of take a step back after I got overexcited and say, am I overzealous here? Let me take a step back and say they win this game, but I don't know if they get it done in the first quarter. I also like points. I think this is a spot for points. You'll see it's there on the lean at 47.5. The money factors, 34% of the bets, bigger money coming in on that over. Sharps are thinking that we're going to see some points out here as well. I don't know if it's going to come from the Syracuse side or Virginia Tech just roasts them like 40-14 maybe. I mean, that's to me feels like a very viable opportunity. Virginia Tech at home, under the lights, enter Sandman, be there or be square. We'll roll on to this Georgia Southern game. And you guys know I've got my brother has a very simple adage when it comes to Georgia football. There ain't a team worth a shit from Georgia. I'm going to steal that from him. I'm going to borrow it because we both tossed it around plenty. But that being said, 65% of the bets, this is earlier today, and the cash were both on Georgia Southern -1. That line is now moved to -2. So Georgia Southern is now -2. 43% of the bets, 69% of the cash on the over, 51% of the bets, 87% of the cash on the Georgia Southern money line. Here's the factor that jumped off the page for me, though. As much as there isn't a team worth of shit from Georgia, when Georgia State's on the road and they play a winning team, a team over 50%, they're 8-0 against the spread. They're finding a way to get that job done, and they're covering it by 13 points on the spread. So this kind of goes back to the math that I used last night with that Pistons game, right? We got a team that's getting 2 points. We got a team that covers the spread by 13 points. That means that they should potentially win this game by 11. So I didn't get in here and jump on this thing just yet, but one of the things I might consider, or I might want to even look at if I was you guys looking aggressive, if you're making money with us here, is to potentially take a peek at an adjusted spread. A -3, a -5, a -6. I meant to break that down a little bit more and kind of see where the concern was. It's a home field game for Georgia Southern, but these campuses are just a 3-hour drive apart from each other down the old I-75. So I expect to see a lot of Georgia State fans in the stands. And that's a big deal. Before I continue the cap, I do want to recognize Dominic Walker with the $5 dono. There's my guy. I appreciate you. He says, my birthday was the 23rd. Can I get a juicy lotto parlay? Mr. Pimp Slap, love the show. I will throw something at you, my guy. And at the end of the day, I thought about this before. Should I factor in a parlay segment in this thing? There's a lot of games I like to cover. We're still tweaking this thing as we go. But I will take that under advisement, and I will see if I can't come up with something on the fly for you at the end of this show. So I just talked about the distance and travel. The Panthers, that's a team that, found a way to get the job done last game, but it was largely out of reach that they put their passing yards together. I thought this game's going to come down to the ground assault here, and Georgia State's got a running back duo between their quarterback, Darian Granger, and their running back, Marcus Carroll. Granger came off a tough game last week. He still was able to go out there. He went 18-22 through the air, 211 yards and 2 touchdowns, but he rushed for a ton as well. Marcus Carroll rushed for a ton, and that's why they were able to get that job done. The Panthers, and where I think the struggle is going to come down, is the Panthers have the 46th defense of rush, 61st in yards allowed to the rush. The Eagles, on the other side of things, they're in a situation that they're 105th in defensive fighting drives. So, that means they're just not finishing drives off. And that's going to be a challenge for, the Eagles themselves here, where if we've got the Panthers that are able to put the ball down and continue their drives down the field, that means longer chains, longer opportunities. Georgia Southern, their last game, they played UL Monroe. And I always think about momentum and how it travels from game to game. They went up early on UL Monroe, the old War Eagles there, and 28-7. But by the end of the fourth quarter, by the start of the fourth quarter, that game was just a 3-point game. So if you look at that thing on paper, you'll see that Georgia Southern won that game by 10 points, but it was just a late scrap time touchdown that was able to get the job done when they had a commanding lead early in that game. So, the only challenge I think that the Eagles have here is to expose that weaker secondary with the Panthers. Davis Brin's going to have to find a way to get the job done through the air. The other component I have for the defense on Georgia, the Eagles here, is that they run 16th in havoc, which means, in my opinion, it's a turnover opportunity for those Eagles. Can the Eagles get the ball, turn it over against Georgia State? I don't know. For me, my official play in this game is I got to go Georgia State on the money line. I'm going to scrap those points. I just talked to you guys about transitioning that spot 8-0 against the spread with a 13-point margin to me. Had to lock them down and take advantage of Georgia State on the money line. I'm not messing around. So give me that money line. I'm not going to screw around with those points. Shout out to Trisha M., new member to the Pub Sports Radio community. Trisha M., I appreciate you. Hope the new iPhone's treating you well. Tony Trill says, hey, pimp slap at square. But who ruins this parlay? Bills money line, Bucks money line, Lakers money line. I would say the Lakers ruin that parlay for you, Tony Trill. Just off the cuff here. Director 97, Georgia State money line is the best bet here. I got Georgia State 34-30. Director 97, I'm glad you're here. That just makes me feel better about the spot. And there's our guy, Dabby Cab. In between lessons, had to stop in, hit the like for my guy, Pimp Slap. Dabby Cab, I appreciate you. Thank you much. Let's keep rolling here. We've got one last game to cover. I'm going to move quickly through this thing because we will talk more about it on the Thursday night live stream. We got this NFL showdown. It's a Thursday night showdown. Tampa Bay Buccaneers traveling into Western New York, Orchard Park, and then Buffalo Bills kind of reeling. 2 scrub games in a row for the Buffalo Bills. 23% of the money. 23% of the bets, 29% of the cash on the Bucks plus 9.5. The under has 30% of the bets and 39% of the cash, and 6% of the bets, 26% of the money. I think the Bucks are going to come out and win this game outright. They maybe think the Bills are struggling, and they clearly have. Let me give you guys a couple trends on this spot, and then we can talk a little bit more about the official plays and some of the leans I have. So Tampa Bay, last season when they come off of back-to-back unders, so 2 games in a row going under the number, are 1-8 straight up. 0-9 against the spread, losing by almost 12 points. And that under hits 3-6 to the under as well. So after back-to-back unders, kind of thinks it makes sense, right? I mean, after the Tom Brady era now, you've got a game where you got to depend on Baker Mayfield to get it done. What does Baker Mayfield do as a big dog? A big dog where he's 6 points or more? He's 0-11. He's never come up with an upset. He's only averaging 188 yards through the air. He's got about a 50-50 touchdown to interception ratio. So if you're counting on Baker to come out here and win this game outright for Buffalo or for the Tampa Bay, you're in trouble. Furthermore, when Tampa Bay is allowed 150 or more rushing yards, they're 0-10-1 against the spread. What does that mean to me? That means that after they get blown up on the ground, they just don't have any answers for it. They don't have the right tools in the shed to be able to come out there and fight back another rushing game. However, caveat to that, they are in that 11-game sample holding teams to less than 100 rushing yards the next game. Their first half numbers here, 7-9 on the first half is the projected score in those games with the unders after the rush. 18-23 full game. Kind of looking at this thing, and I was thinking to myself, I don't think Tampa Bay gets more than 18 points this game. So if you're looking at doing some props or some team totals, that 18 is the sweet spot for me. So kind of saying that again, after they've allowed 150 or more rushing yards, yeah, they hold the team that next game to less than 100, but they're still only scoring 18 points. That number 18 pops out again for me in a couple of seconds. I'll talk to you guys about. I'm going to flip over here and say Thursday night football when they've got favorites of 7 or more points are 45-22 against the spread. And as long as Buffalo's, not a dog of 5 or more points after they get smoked by 28 points or more, they're 9-0-1 against the spread. They're clearly a big favorite in this game tonight. They're 9-1 straight up. Buffalo 12-0-2 against the spread when they're a favorite off a road spot where they failed to cover by 2 or more points. And their rushing average in those spots is 129. I feel that sweet spot's 100. I think that's super huge for this game because I'm not sure what's going on in the status of our guy, Josh Allen, but I think there's some underlying injuries that took place at the end of last season. He did not get surgery. He was gallivanting all over the West Coast and all kinds of celebrity spots, yamming up the fact that he is kind of on that Mount Rushmore of current quarterback legends in the NFL. But I don't expect him to run the ball a lot. I kind of tie that back to the rushing spot there where Tampa Bay is holding him to under 100. I do expect him to pass it more in those spots where they're 12-0-2 after they get beat up by 2 or more points by not covering. Josh Allen's been throwing 32 pass attempts, but only averaging 219 yards. In those games, though, that 12-0-2 spread, Buffalo's winning 30-18 on average. So they're covering the spread. This game falls into that criteria with the 9.5s and 10s. But again, they're holding their opponent to 18 points. So that's a key number for me is that 18 for Tampa Bay. It came up in 2 different spots. It's kind of intersecting 18-point spots between the Buffalo Bills holding opponents to 18 and Tampa Bay only scoring 18. So The last spot I'll give you guys here, if you're thinking about these primetime games in the unders, you may want to think again. Buffalo is 14-0 to the over after they had fewer than 13 first down attempts. That's what that number says. Sorry, I wrote that a little sloppy. Buffalo 14-0 to the over the following game after they had fewer than 13 first down attempts. What that tells me is they are able to kind of correct their mistakes. When they had a poor game, they coach them hard, they rally, and they come back and they complete first downs for the over. I'm going to dismiss that to some degree because I think, with that offensive coordinator change on Buffalo this past season, that's going to have a little more, it's going to tax them a little bit more than maybe expected. Can they fix the first down marker and keep the chains moving? I do think so. But as chains keep moving and they're trying not to rush Josh Allen so often here, I think we're going to see a lot more dink and dunks. I think Kincaid's a live guy tonight at the tight end position, especially knowing that Dawson Knox isn't playing. But for me, I got a couple of official plays I'll give you guys here, and we'll close this show out. I'm going to get back to a 3-team parlay for our guy and his birthday. I got the Bills -3 and the under 49.5 for a teaser. When I looked at some of those numbers and the trends, I was able to move Buffalo to a 10-0 against the spread spot if you take them in the teaser at -3, and the under goes to 2-8 on the under with the under 49.5. So I tease Buffalo -3 and the under. I like the Bills to come out here in this first half. I like the Bills first half -4.5. I think they're home. They worked hard in the practice this week to get things right. It's a short opportunity as well. And I don't know that Tampa's able to rally and recover from that. I do like McLaughlin, though, over 5.5 kicking points is my third official play at -101. And just 3 leans for you guys here. Mike Evans over at 58.5 receiving yards. He's just the bell cow of that offense. Baker likes throwing to him. He's able to get that job done day in and day out. Buffalo secondary is a little bit suspect as well. And I think Evans, that big target, could be vulnerable on the outside. I like Bernard over 8.5 tackles and assisted tackles. He's just been the bell cow out there in defense. And Josh Allen leading the league in turnovers going back to 2018. You could get a Josh Allen interception prop over at PointsBet at +100. So there we are. That brings me through the spot here. Let me run it down real quick here. We got Grit and Grind says Embiid double-double. Reeves over 23.5 points, rebounds, and assists. And Cook over 2.5 receptions at +570. Dana Delp says Diggs anytime touchdown and Sprinkle 1 touchdown. I'm not sure. Gerardo Hernandez killing it in the NFL Cappers contest. He likes the Bills -3.5 in the over, so we could both cash on that thing, my guy. He likes the Bills first half -6, Bills -9.5, and I see a Bills -3 in there. I'm not sure what that means, but Tone Miggins, KD rebounds over 7.5. Shout out to our guy, Tone Miggins, coming in there with his levels plays of the day. Doing great work, my guy. Appreciate you sharing with us. And Dominique Walker says, let's go. Let's cash some tickets. JPZ, Pimp Slap. What's up, my guy? How you doing? Hope all is well. And Director 97 says, I'm taking the under 43.5. I think it may be tight, but I'm pulling the trigger. I like it, my guy. I like that a lot. So let's talk about this parlay here. Let's talk about this parlay for my guy, his dono, and it's his birthday. Woo! I'm going to go with the Suns +6.5. I know it's a lean, but I'm going to lock that in as an official. I'm going to go with Georgia Southern on the money line and the Colorado Avalanche. Colorado Avalanche, Georgia Southern, and the Sun +6.5. Let me drop in here in this. It's on the fly. I want to give it to our guy. It's his birthday. It's his dono spot here. Let me lock this in and see what it was official. So we're going to go Colorado Avalanche. It's going to start in just a few minutes too. So we need to make sure that we get this done early here. Let me look at this NBA, moving right along, giving you guys the live looks. And then I said college football. I like Georgia Southern. Georgia Southern, where are you? Where are you? Where are you? Football, college football. And I'm sorry, Georgia State, rather. Georgia State -105. My fault with that. So I got Colorado Avalanche, Phoenix Suns +6.5, and the Georgia State money line. It's a +519 spot right now on DK. You guys can probably get better numbers if you shop around. I'm going to lock it in. This is going to be for our guy's birthday. I hope you had a great birthday, Dominic Walker. Let's get that cash, my guy. 3-team parlay. We'll make this official for the show as well. Colorado Avalanche money line, Phoenix Suns +6.5, and Georgia State money line +519. Let's get that cash, my guy and gals. Appreciate everybody dropping in here. We're 64 minutes deep. Gave you guys a whole bunch of plays. I'll just give you the quick rundown one last time. We got the Winnipeg Jets as a lean, Colorado Avalanche money line, San Jose under 6.5, Minnesota Wild -120. Money line is official. Minnesota over 5.5 is a lean for me. I like the Islanders as a lean. Moving down the line, I've got the St. Louis Blues over 6. The first period over 1.5 is a lean for me. The New York Rangers is an official pick on the money line, and Zibanejad over anytime goal scorer at +200. I like the Bucks first half -3. I got Lopez over 1.5 threes at +150, and then I lean Dame Lillard over 26.5 points. Anthony Davis lean over 22.5 points. Okogie over 9.5 points at +106. Ladder him up 15 plus over there on FanDuel is +550. I like that as a lean. And the Suns +6.5 is an official lean on a straight play, although I did drop them in the parlay. Virginia Tech first quarter -0.5 +115. Virginia is a lean. Virginia Tech money line for me at -140. And I like the points at 47.5 as another lean for me. The last official on college football is Georgia State +100. And now we're moving down to the Buffalo side here. I teased Buffalo in the under. I got the Bills first half -4.5, and McLaughlin over 5.5 kicking points is 3 official NBA plays. Mike Evans over 58.5 receiving yards is a lean. Bernard over 8.5 tackles and assists is a lean. And Josh Allen anytime interception is my last lean for the card. Appreciate everybody dropping in here. Show number 4. We just covered about 27, 28 plays. Plus we tossed a parlay in there that's paying over 5-1 our cash. You know what? I did the scrubbing. It's time to get that down and make this cash. Let me just go back and be official. I said Georgia Southern. Georgia State's the spot that I'm on. Let me just be clear. It's Georgia State is the spot that I'm on. I just want to make sure I say that one more time. Georgia State money line is the spot that I'm on. I know I kind of talked about these Georgia teams. They kind of get with me here and covering a lot of spots in a lot of time. But again, guys, like, retweet if you like what's going on. Throw your comments out there in the chat, on Twitter, on the YouTube post as well. Let everybody see what you're on. We'll highlight you guys the next day as well. We got another show tomorrow. It'll bring us through Friday. We're finally coming up to Friday, but this is the gatekeeping spot to the weekend. We got 23 minutes to go until we get to this live stream tonight. Come bet with us live. Come get that cash. We got a great panel lined up to share their looks, leans, and excitement about this game tonight. Let's go Buffalo. We got Tampa coming into town, Western New York. It's great football weather out here, and I will see everybody in just a little bit. Thank you, everybody, dropping out here. Shout out to Pub Sports Radio. Make sure you become a member if you have not already. It's $4.99 a month. We appreciate everybody and their efforts. Thanks for sharing in the chat, and I'll see you guys tomorrow.
Does anybody else have any other stupid questions for me tonight? Thank you.